Dreamside, a place where people's dreams could come true. This game ranked first in the trends, first in popularity and number of players. It was the most famous game in all categories. It was the only game in which everyone, even if he was a politician, an idol, or an actor, could meet in the game. The hero chose the name of his character and called himself K. The game welcomed the guy and wished him to make his dreams come true. The guy's place was to take the first position in the ranking. The hero was at a loss because on the day when Dreamside 2 was supposed to come out, but in the end a notification popped up that welcomed the hero to Earth. 30 minutes ago, the hero completed the delivery order and started entering a nickname for pre-ordering a new version of the game. But at the moment the elevator stopped. The hero pressed the emergency call buttons and called 911, but it was unsuccessful. While he was nervously waiting for help, the same notification from the game appeared. He began to investigate the window that appeared and could not understand how it worked. As a result, there was a button for accepting an invitation, which the hero pressed without hesitation. Immediately after the guy pressed the button, he received a task, namely to leave the elevator, which will soon be devoured by parasites in 1 minute. In case of failure, the hero was waiting for death. After what he saw, he was scared, because his life was at stake. Turning around, the hero was able to contemplate the very parasites that began to fill the elevator. One of the parasites got on the forehead of the hero. His scream went beyond the building he was in. The hero was able to get out at the last moment and received a rough sword as a reward. The hero looked back where the portal stood, very similar to the one used during the game's release. The hero could not understand what had just happened to him. Without having time to properly comprehend everything, the guy beheld a goblin that flew out of the portal and headed to attack the guy. Having received a blow, the hero was in complete horror. He felt pain, and his health immediately decreased. Initially, the guy was going to run, but after a little thought, he realized that if he was hit in the back at least one more time, then he was a corpse. The hero really thought that he would die, but after looking closely, he realized that the monster is actually not so scary. The goblin took advantage of the fact that the guy was distracted and went on the attack. The hero dodged at the last moment. Nevertheless, he decided to run, because otherwise his life would be in danger. The hero got to the stairs, after which he found out that he would not be able to pass due to limited access, which was fun on him since training was taking place. The hero was already desperate, but there was no time for it. The goblin threw his hammer at the guy, who was again on the verge of death. A window appeared in which the hero was notified that the rewards for disabling the server had been received, although the player's level was not high enough for them. Suddenly, something changed the hero's body, after which suddenly he was able to calm down. The hero did not understand what was going on, but after calming down a little, he noticed that the goblin is the most common type of F-rank dungeon, which he could not completely ignore in the game. Finally, the guy was able to pull himself together and decided to fight. The goblin and the hero directed attacks at each other, and the outcome of the battle in one blow was that the guy pierced the monster's belly with his sword. The guy is thinking about whether this is the end, but remembering the game, he realizes that 5 more monsters will appear now. He wasn't sure if he would be able to defeat them, but he had no choice. After the monsters appeared, the hero ordered them to advance and easily hack the attacking monsters. The result of the guy's actions was that he exceeded the conditions of the task, so that all the monsters on the 13th floor were destroyed. The hero received the title of the evil killer. The guy realized that what was really happening was like in a game. The hero decided to look at his stats. The most interesting thing is that he had a skill from the game, namely an S-rank celestial body. Due to the low level, he could not reveal the full potential of the skill. There was also a calmness skill. Most likely, the skill was a reward for closing the server, the notification of which he received during the fight with the goblin. The reason for the failure of Dreamside was hellish complexity. There was also one very important reason why players left the game, namely, only 3 lives. If you spend them all, then the character is removed. It was because of such strange mechanics that there were very few strong characters, as well as rankers, namely the top 12 players were simply at a different level than the rest, and the hero leading the list of the strongest was the top one among the rankers. Later, after the first part was closed, a survey appeared about which skill the hero would like to transfer to the second version of the game. The hero could not have expected that such a thing would happen and regretted that he did not choose a mystical object. Now the hero could not get all the reward, and the high-ranking skill was limited due to the level. A notification popped up that said that the dungeons were being transformed and there would soon be several waves of monsters. The hero needed to survive them, and as a reward he would receive a standard survival kit, and in case of failure he would die. The guy complained to himself that he was not even given time to rest. At the same time, the girl decided to leave the building, but saw a goblin in front of her. Other people who were there started screaming when they saw the monster. The hero heard a characteristic sound, and complained that he had 10 minutes. The hero was in despair, because if everything happens according to the scenario as in the game, a lot of people will die. Dungeons are a phenomenon in which a normal zone is infected with parasites and whole crowds of monsters appear in it. The hero was thinking about what to do, since ordinary people will not be able to fight monsters. The guy had an epiphany. He cleared one floor, and mobs can't move between them. The hero only needs to clear the rest of the floors while running away from the building. He decided to head to the roof. The hero was determined to save all people. The hero was going to raid the dungeon and kill the boss. Next to the hero, a portal appeared into which the guy went. Before he entered, he used the skill of calmness and headed to the portal. The hero found himself in a basement parking lot. He saw goblins and hid behind a pillar. The guy was able to see how goblins jump into portals leading to floors in the building. After thinking about how to put goblins to kill people, the hero decided to block the portals, and for this it is necessary to kill the boss. The hero turned around and saw a huge monster that was the boss, infected nature. The hero was in a stupor from the size of the creature, but still he will need to clean up this dungeon. In fact, the building has not yet completely become a dungeon. It will happen in a few minutes. The hero also knew the tactics of how to clean up such nidosomelia. He waited until the timer reached 1 minute, because at this time the mobs get a reduction in breathing. The hero went on the attack. The hero decided to move away from small monsters hiding on the roof of the car. The goblins instantly lost his trail, just like in the game. When the small goblins did not see the hero, he decided to attack the boss until he could not move. The hero struck, but suddenly the monster moved. He already thought that the debuff's duration was over, but it was not so. These movements were forced. The hero decided to finish with the boss and inflicted several fatal blows. The news said that the weather was bad. For this reason, people were advised not to leave their homes. The government hid what started happening in the center of Seoul and soon covered the whole country. People who saw the monster videos discussed what they saw. People thought that there was graphics on the video, and this is not happening seriously. The girl watching the news suggested that it was all too similar to Dreamside. Her name was Choi Hannah. She was a popular idol. In one video, a guy filmed how lizards with spears attacked a man, and said that he would go and beat them, but there was a lizard behind his back that devoured him. The idol who watched the video was very surprised. The girl was very popular, starred in commercials and movies, but this girl had one secret. The manager went into the dressing room where the girl was and said that everything was canceled and they needed to go to the dorm. She showed the video she was watching. He only said that she could not use the phone and assumed that the video shown was a movie. The girl began to tell that Dreamside Stud was a reality, but the manager only got angry, because in his opinion this game caused the idol's addiction, so he confiscated the phone. The secret of the girl was that she was a Dreamside player. She was one of the 12 strongest, namely the magic shooter Clark. Even the fans didn't know about the girl's hobbies. So that she would not be recognized, she changed her voice and chose a middle-aged man as a character. Now that the game has become a reality, there was no need to hide it. However, the manager is stubborn and does not give the girl her phone. The girl continued to beg the guy, but she was interrupted by an earthquake that caused them to fall. The girl took advantage of the situation and picked up her phone. She logged into her account and was rewarded with her weapon, a magic revolver. The girl was delighted that she was holding a real weapon in her hands, and the manager said something about it being dangerous. A monster jumped out of the new portal, which was called a ghoul in the game. The girl told the manager to watch carefully what she was going to do, and pointing the barrel at the monster pulled the trigger, but there was no shot. The girl was angry, and only now noticed that the synchronization had not yet been completed. The ghoul started attacking the idol, and she dodged and shouted at her phone, which synced for a long time. Finally, the synchronization ended, and the girl was able to shoot the monster. It tore the carcass of the ghoul. The manager was shocked and asked what was going on here. The girl told the guy to run away and was going to go to the person who knows everything about the game K, who is the main character. At that time, the hero killed the boss in the underground parking lot and received a notification that the building had not turned into a dungeon. The monster disappeared, but the damage to the building and the blood remained. A portal appeared in front of the guy, which was the final stage. It was called the Portal of Choice. After the hero passes this test, he will be able to get the skill. After entering the portal, he found himself in a place that fully corresponded to the training map in the game. The hero was surprised that he was able to move into a space that previously existed only in the game. Next to the guide there were portals with a choice of difficulty from easy to real hell. For the easiest difficulty, it is fashionable to get an F-rank skill, and for the most difficult A rank. Normally, the hero would have chosen a hellish difficulty, but there was one problem. Namely, that the hellish complexity is impossible to pass. Even the complaints of the players have not changed anything. Only one person could pass this difficulty, namely the hero. Although he had to pay for it with a huge number of characters. Suddenly a window popped up where you could see the number of people participating in the tests. Most chose the normal difficulty. It was 330,000 people, but only 120 people chose the infernal one. After seeing such a huge number of people who participate in the test, the hero realized that the phenomenon that happened to him was probably happening all over Korea, or even all over the world. The hero still decided to take a chance and entered the infernal portal. The first task for the hero was to protect the statue of the goddess from golems. The timer is 5 minutes, and in case of failure, death. A lot of golems went to attack the statue, but the hero lazily killed them by spending one swing of his sword on each of them. After the expiration of a minute, the hero was attacked by a Yadebaf, which reduced his reaction by 0.5 seconds, and on the contrary strengthened the monsters by 5%. At the end of the time, the hero's movements became slower, and the strength of the monsters grew. It was getting harder and harder for the guy to defeat monsters, as he had to anticipate from the attack. He was able to complete a secret mission, dodging monsters for 3 minutes on hellish difficulty. It remained to hold out for 2 minutes, and a whopper appeared in the field of view, which was the boss. For secret tasks, you can get improved stats, which can only be obtained on hellish difficulty. The hero fought the boss, but his sword began to break badly. The hero dodged the monster's attacks, and in a moment replaced his almost broken sword with a desecrated hammer of the physical level. The hero went to attack the golem and blew off several fingers with a blow. The hero dodged the monster's attacks and launched counterattacks, as well as the hero drew attention to the monster's core, which was his weak point. The guy would not be able to reach the vulnerable point of the monster because of its height, and moving towards the golem, the hero had a plan. He struck a very strong blow on the monster's leg, from which he fell. Taking advantage of the moments, the guy jumped up and struck with all his might with a hammer right at the monster's core. From the force of the impact, the core split and the golem was defeated. A notification popped up that congratulated the hero on completing the first stage of learning the complexity of hell. After passing the first stage, he received the A rank endurance skill. The hero received a huge amount of health. Some elements of the heavenly body skill were unlocked, and the dragon eye skill was unlocked. The hero was very happy with the awards he received. But in fact, this was only the first stage of many others. Even in the game, the hero was trained for a month. The hero destroyed training monsters and rejoiced in his dragon's eye. Thanks to his eye, the hero was able to detect the aura of darkness and destroy it, after which he received a notification about the passage of a hidden task. The hidden stage opened, and a hidden boss of unknown level appeared. The monster started talking about the stupidity of the hero, because he awakened her, he was finished. The hero disappeared from the monster's field of view and instantly cut her in half. This was the last stage. The hero received a bunch of awards and was teleported to the parking lot. After leaving the portal, the hero immediately decided to check how much time had passed, and what he learned shocked him, since he spent 3 whole months in the training area. The guy decided to assess the situation and find survivors. At that time, at a Seoul high school, children complained to a policeman. He agreed that they really don't have time to wait, since they have 1 day left to clean up the dungeon. The man's name was Odiso, and he was a police officer. One of the students grabbed the man by the jacket and began to tell him that they could not clear the E-rank dungeons, and if they suddenly die, it would not be like in the game and they would die forever. The policeman was also scared, but they simply didn't have much choice, because if they didn't clean it up, the dungeon would break. Dungeon Rift is a phenomenon during which the number of monsters in the dungeon increases rapidly, and they get out of it. During the break, the portal turns red. The rank of the dungeon is growing after the break, and that's what was already in the school. Now this dungeon could become D rank. The policeman understood that it was almost impossible to clean it up, but there was a small hope, and if they did not do that, they would never clean up the dungeons of a higher rank. One of the people asked about the rapid rise of levels from the dungeon, although the rest remain F rank. The officer gave the answer, which was that in this dungeon monsters are undead. The policeman continued, due to the fact that they are zombies, they had the opportunity to infect people, and even corpses, from which the dungeons very quickly increased the rank. He began to raise the morale of the guys with beautiful speeches, after which they all went to the portal. Among these people was an idol who knew the hero in the game. The hero arrived at the school, where he found a bunch of corpses. He also saw the portal, and drew attention to its color. The color of the portal reflects the state of the dungeon. The blue ones are light, the green ones are normal, the red ones will indicate a possible fault. The rift will occur when the portal turns black. The hero drew attention to the wood. After studying it a little, he came to the conclusion that people had recently entered the portal. The time before the opening of the fault began to accelerate rapidly. It was a very bad sign, and the hero knew it. The hero understood that at such a pace, people inside could not hold out for a long time, so he headed inside. He saw an incredible picture. There were just huge objects, and it looked like it was an empty classroom. The hero was thinking that he should not relax his vigilance, and a skeleton jumped out of the floor, but the hero managed to jump away at the last moment. It was a busy level 40. The hero summoned a strong sword. The monster attacked the guy, but he cut him in half with an accurate blow of the sword. To the surprise of the hero, the skeleton did not die and tried to bite him. He knew that to defeat the undead, he needed to destroy the core he could find. He threw the skeleton away and landed a precise blow right on the monster's weak spot. Thanks to the victory over the monster, the hero's level was raised. As expected, other skeletons began to climb out of the floor, and the hero received a task, namely to make 100 surprise attacks in a row. The hero smashed skeletons and eventually completed the task and received the title of Master of Surprise Attacks. The hero also followed the trail of the people who entered here first. They were hiding around the corner. An hour ago, they easily coped with the enemy working smoothly, and the idol with her magic weapon helped a lot. A successful raid was interrupted by an explosion. After looking around a little, the policeman was able to notice two people who began to call for explosions without stopping. He and the people began to retreat. The man thought that he had already fallen behind, but one of the enemies appeared in front of him. He immediately reacted and struck, but the enemy easily dodged. Suddenly, the enemy called the name of the policeman, which surprised the man very much. Without having time to realize anything, the policeman was thrown away by the explosion. The enemy insulted the man. By the way, he was able to pick up the spear of the Wave Rider as a reward for disabling the server. The policeman went on the attack, as he assumed that if he got close to the opponent, he would not be able to use the explosion. It was too predictable, and the detective flew away from the powerful Vriva, imprinting himself into the wall. A dialogue ensued between the disarmed policeman and the enemy, the result of which was that the man recognized the man standing in front of him. It turned out to be serial killer Huang Dong-Su. The policeman was not in the best position, and the enemy continued to press. Unexpectedly, this couple was joined by a hero who destroyed the wall. The guy was surprised to see the man. He was also confused by the fact that he was wearing a mask. The enemy paid attention to the hero. The policeman shouted to him to run away faster, but it was too late. The enemy used an explosion on the hero. The policeman was worried about him. But suddenly the hero came out without wounds from under the smoke, activating the dragon's eyes. He was able to understand that the masked man was the culprit of the explosion. The hero summoned a strong sword. The enemy used his ability again, but it was easy for the guy to dodge them. After the hero dodged, he assumed that the masked man is a red player. They are also people constantly killing players. The hero understood that dead people are the work of the enemy, so he was going to kill him. The enemy offered to let the hero go and promised that he would let him go. The policeman shouted out that the masked man is a serial killer. The hero reassured the man by saying that in any case, he does not leave enemies alive. He activated danger detection, dragon eyes, and headed into battle. The hero struck a well-aimed blow on the neck of the second enemy, from which he died. He began to tell the masked man about the fact that with great power comes great responsibility, and said that it was time for the enemy to take responsibility for what he had done. The hero took out a dagger, and with a well-aimed throw killed another enemy hidden in the shadows. There was only one person left with whom he needed to finish. He went to him to kill, and he asked to stop. The enemy's request for mercy did not affect the hero, and the enemy, seeing this, used a lightning attack. For the hero, this attack was not dangerous. He summoned his dagger, recently thrown at another player, and killed a serial killer. The hero unexpectedly raised the level. It looks like the system recognized these players as mobs. The hero was able to get the item grass of the dungeon and sewed with joy. The policeman thanked the hero and dared to ask him for a favor. He started talking about the fact that there are still attackers, so they are not being attacked by monsters yet. The policeman assumed that it was some kind of object. He also said that the target of the criminals was the shooter Clark. A hero and a policeman ran next to the audience discussing the fact that Clark turned out to be a girl, and also a popular idol. The 12th place is Clark. In the game, he was given the nickname the Shooter from the magic revolver. He had no equal in shooting. The hero still could not realize that Clark was a girl. The policeman was glad that their plan worked with the hero, namely, to take the enemy's corpse with them, so that the monsters would not attack them. The guys got to the gym. There were only 3 hours left before the dungeon break. The hero was now definitely sure that someone was speeding up the dungeon break, and the grass that he found in one of the enemies had such a property, it was only necessary to mix it with water from the dungeon. The hero was surprised. Since water falls from dungeons of rank B and higher, it looks like the player who is at this level in the game is here. At the same time, the girl dodged countless enemy attacks, fighting the boss in parallel. The girl dodged the boss's attacks and shot at him, but her attacks did not give any effect. The only problem that prevented the girl from winning were the people who covered her with a hail of arrows. She was very angry because the boss didn't react to them. The girl was in a desperate situation, and although she could not gain the strength to kill the players, otherwise she would die. After thinking about where the arrows were flying from, she jumped out of hiding and shot at the enemy. One player was defeated, while others continued to shoot at the idol. Without giving the girl the opportunity to sit out, the boss attacked her hiding place. The girl was running away from the monster and understood the deplorability of her situation, since she could not defeat this strong boss in 3 hours, even if people did not interfere with her, and fighting with the same boss after his rank had risen was suicide at all. The girl stopped and fired at the boss, from which he lost consciousness for 5 seconds. The girl used the blood sphere ability and got closer to the back of the boss's head, and as soon as she fired, the boss moved and the hero, who had just arrived at the scene, ordered the girl to run. The girl thought that she was finished, as her stamina dropped to almost 0, but at the last moment, when the blow almost cut the girl in half, a barrier appeared and a hero who saved the girl. The hero asked if the idol was okay, and she just couldn't figure out who he was. Without giving time to negotiate, the boss evolved, from which he became a D rank and turned into the demon lord Vondis. Now, according to the girl, they had no chance. She spoke to the hero and offered to get out of this dungeon, since they could not kill him in any way. The girl also noticed that the players stopped shooting at her, and most likely ran away. The hero was going to fight the boss. The idol dissuaded him, because seeing the guy's equipment, she wanted to cry. The hero borrowed a policeman's weapon at the 8th level. Seeing how the hero was able to awaken him, the girl was surprised, since this meant that his level was not less than the level of the spear. Now it was clear to her, the guy standing in front of her was a high-ranked player. The hero threw something to the girl and ordered her to drink it, and he went to attack the monster. The hero used the spear's abilities and called for water. The girl approached the guy after shooting the monster. She was wondering where he got the high-level drug. The girl approached the monster and, using her ability, neutralized it for 3 seconds. The hero, taking advantage of the moments, threw a spear at the boss, and as a result, after a short resistance, the boss was defeated. Thanks to the victory over a strong boss, the level was greatly increased, the dungeon was cleared. Killer players were waiting for them at the exit, ready to pounce immediately after they left the dungeon. The enemies saw the notification about the clearing of the dungeon, and their leader received information that Kay, the main character, who was on a hellish difficulty, disappeared from there. After hearing this, he ordered his men to retreat. The guy returned his weapon to the policeman, and the girl with a good mood asked the hero if he was Kay. The hero became proud, and as soon as he was about to confess, the girl interrupted him and suggested that he definitely could not be Kay. The policeman confirmed the girl's opinion. In the end, They all decided not to let the hero say even a word. The girl thanked the guy for saving her. He also offered to find survivors. Many of the survivors were injured, but the fact that at least someone was able to survive could be called a miracle. The detective began to ask the wounded about their condition. The hero, looking at this, reflected that he was also glad that the players had survived. One of the survivors asked the idol if everything was fine with her, so shyly said that at least she messed up a little, everything was fine. The detective suggested that the hero go to the camp with them. The hero and the idol easily cleared the way from the undead, and the survivor, watching their skills at least, was not surprised by the strength of the idol. But to see such skills from the hero was a surprise for him. They reached their destination, namely Banjo Station. The hero thought that this was really a good shelter, since after the monsters left the dungeon, they definitely would not return to the enclosed space. As soon as the group entered the shelter, the people who were there surrounded the detective and began to have a nice conversation with him. The grandfather, who was also there, expressed his joy that the group survived. The policeman offered the hero a break while he cooked his food. The hero was thinking about today's difficult day, and as soon as he wanted to relax a little, he pulled himself together. The guy decided to check out the reward he received for defeating the boss. The hero received the Blade of Regret of Vondis, which had the ability to cover the blade with ice. The hero was a little disappointed, since he needed level 120 to use such weapons. Even if he uses all the stats now, he won't even have enough for the 100th level. The guy was pleased that in addition to the sword, he also received a sealed book, which was of legendary rank. The hero summoned a cute creature and ordered him to wake up. His name was Goran. Goran was very hungry, and there was a great need to feed him. This creature in the past was a pet of the hero in the game. Seeing his reaction, only one thought came to the guy, namely that such behavior was related to the dungeon. Now he has taken a cute form, but his true appearance is a monster devouring dungeons. This creature only eats monsters from dungeons. When he behaves like that, something happens to them. The main problem was that it was happening in a place where there were a lot of people. The hero continued to ponder what was the reason for the pet's reaction. The skeletons disappeared because their rank was too low. So there were only two options left. Either something was wrong with the pet or something strange was happening. The hero looked closer and saw a man lying down, who in his opinion was on the verge. Later, the policeman told his people that they needed to kill the skeletons. They began to get indignant and say that if they were not touched, they would leave themselves. People couldn't understand why they would risk their lives. The policeman said that once the skeletons began to disperse, a lot of people would become victims. He also said that it was a chance for them to raise the levels. The policeman also told that the monsters are now very weak due to the lack of a dungeon buff and the sun, which was at its peak. The man also said that he would not force them, and the final decision was up to them. As a result, they were divided into two groups, namely, a group of hunters and a group of people who protect their shelter. For the hero, it was a good opportunity to pump up, and he needed to find one person. As a result, all the guys from the hunters began to introduce themselves. The hero believed that the policeman had great potential. One boy told about himself that he was a salesman, and now he will try his best. Idol also introduced herself. The hero, during the performances of people, was thinking about not saying too much. It was the turn of the next person. He began to brag that he was rich, and the hero only saw on him a very expensive piece of clothing from the game, which is weak as a result. The policeman showed them the hero. He just wanted to start talking, but the same braggart named Chong Hyan interrupted him, and laughingly called his name. The guy didn't understand how the hyenas knew him, and he told. In high school, he bullied the hero and now called him a typical victim. The hero remembered him. He also said that the bully has changed a lot. The braggart tried to humiliate the hero again, But the idol stood up for him, who ordered him to apologize. The hero made the most serious face and admitted that he was K. For a second, everyone was silent in surprise. People were incredibly surprised, especially Idol. She was very happy and made sure that her intuition did not deceive her. The policeman was also glad that his new comrade turned out to be K. The bully got in again and called the hero a liar, but after looking closely, he saw a t-shirt on the guy, which falls from the boss of Von Dis. Still, he couldn't believe that the guy was K, so he decided to expose him. He asked what the hero's level was, and he said 37th. After hearing such a high level, people doubted the guy's words even more. The nasty dude continued to put pressure on the hero, calling K a foreigner. The hero was really angry with such stupid words. The hero and his new team went outside to kill monsters. He used the dragon's eye and shouted out the location of the skills to people, from which his abuser was surprised, since he could not understand from where the guy knew this. A huge number of skills were coming to the group, and the policeman threw down his weapon and ordered the guys to stand in formation. There were too many skeletons, and people couldn't cope. Clark joined the battle and helped her allies. The hero also decided to join the battle, but he was stopped by a braggart who decided to show off his skills. The performance that the hero saw was truly miserable. Remembering the past, the guy really helped this braggart because of money. Because of ignorance of the real cost of bread, he gave much more, so the hero perceived it more as work. It is for this reason that he tolerates the antics of the braggart and does not put him in his place. Goran ate everything that came under his paw, bones of skeletons, weapons, everything that was from the dungeon. Goran pointed to the crowd of skeletons, and the hero headed out to kill. After killing the skeleton, he looked at its head and irritably threw it to his pet. It was already evening, and people were sharing their positive emotions about raising the level. Only the hero was very angry and sat near his pet. The policeman asked if the hero was okay, but he was busy shouting at his pet. Suddenly, the animal smelled a buffet nearby. The policeman was about to leave, but the hero offered to go to a flower shop. As a result, when they got to the place, they found a dungeon with a virus that had to be destroyed. It turned out that the man the hero had seen earlier was sent to this dungeon. There are many types of dungeons, and this one, after the break, releases not monsters, but virus spores, after infection with which a person becomes ill with a dungeon disease. When he gets into a human body, he turns it into a monster. If the players have E-class resistance, then everything should be fine with them. One of the team reminded that it will soon get dark and the monsters will become stronger, and in this case they will be trapped. The policeman was forced to say that they needed to clean up this dungeon before the break, because then problems would begin. People didn't know what to do, and eventually they decided to go inside. A hero, a policeman, an idol, and a braggart went there. They did it very easily. The best players were sent to the dungeons, and the rest to the camp. The hero believed that the three of them could easily cope, but they needed another player to enter this dungeon, so they took a braggart who had good equipment, and the level was high. The braggart again began to ruin the hero, calling him a low-level deceiver. The hero was amused by this, since the braggart could not even realize that he was a weak link. He expressed his displeasure to the hero, but he only removed the hand of the braggart and refused to touch the plants. The braggart started doing bullshit again and took the fruit, which he called the manna apple, and was about to eat it, but at the last moment a girl intervened, who destroyed the apple with a shot. She told him to keep a closer eye on his surroundings. Seeing that just now the braggart was on the verge of death, he stood up in a stupor for a second, and later thanked the girl. At this time, the policeman was very sorry that he had chosen this braggart. The group reached the boss room, where they met the Flower King. The boss looked like a sunflower, but because of the frequent deaths, he was called a podmortnik. The hero told that this boss is strong enough, and after the victory they will receive a flower bulb, which is an antidote. The braggart was proud again, and intended to show off. The group smelled a terrible smell coming from the flowers. The hero shouted to the group to dodge, after which the monster struck with vines that were strong enough to break concrete. Everyone was able to survive this attack. The policeman expressed his surprise at the unexpected attack, and the girl also fired a bullet at the monster. The braggart started to get the hero again and told him to get out. In his opinion, he was able to cope with it himself. He went to attack, but the hero grabbed him by the cloak and dragged him back. He was indignant, but when the hero said to look at his feet, the braggart was horrified, because there was a small flower that almost killed him. The hero finished off the plant and told the braggart to stay away if he couldn't even think about the fact that there are other monsters around the boss. The hero used the dragon's eye and after looking realized that as soon as they rush at the boss, other flowers will attack them. The policeman offered to trust the girl, but the hero said that if they did so, the boss would have time to raise the rank. The girl asked the hero if he had an elixir, and even though he had it, the hero was forced to refuse the request to pass it, as he intended to raise the level completely. He attacked the plants, under the screams of the braggart, chopped the plants one by one. Seeing such power, the braggart was again in a stupor. The policeman told him not to be surprised, because the player standing in front of them was K. The hero easily coped with monsters, which completely killed the pride of the braggart. After defeating the boss, the hero raised the level well and received good items, namely the onion itself and Kakashi's studded glove. After getting out of the dungeon, the team was heading to the shelter, and the hero was thinking about a good reward. Thanks to the heavenly body skill, the hero will be able to use weapons much higher than his own, and he was able to level up for as many as 10 levels since he left training. In total, he already had level 40. Most likely, the hero will soon be able to defend D-rank dungeons. That's what he thought. The hero decided to pay attention to the braggart, who was very depressed by what he saw in the dungeon. The hero decided not to get involved in the offender's monologue. In front of the camp itself, they found corpses, which indicated that something had happened there. They immediately went inside, where they could not reach people, and saw strange footprints. The hero said that this was a consequence of the disease of the dungeon. It was after these words that they heard a voice calling for help. After they came to the place where the voice came from, they saw a guy under the rubble. The hero tried to use potions on him, but the system said that only the revival potion could help him. As a result, the guy was given paralysis potions, from which he stopped feeling pain. The detective was able to ask what happened and heard the story. Suddenly a huge monster appeared. People tried to take him to the traps, as they were taught, but suddenly zombies appeared behind their backs, into which people turned. Remembering the events that happened to him, he fell into madness. The hero was saddened that there was no healer with him who could save this man. The hero began to reflect on why people so quickly began to get sick and turn into zombies, and later completely into monsters. The explanation that the guy was able to find is that someone contributed to this. The guy who told everything died, and the hero and his team went on. A terrible monster was waiting for them there.